Hi, I'm Patsy Conlon and welcome to Latton. We're here on a hill overlooking the village of Latton, and in the distance you can see the lake known as Lough Vein. Then slightly to the right you can see St Mary's Church. It was built in about 1824, 1825. And if you come on head around a little bit more to the right, you will see the new school, which was built in 1977. Out beyond that, you can see the old school. It was built in 1941 and remained until 1977. Slightly then to the right again, you can see two chimneys. That is the parochial house. Father Quigley is the parish priest here now and has been here for some 12 years. Slightly ahead in this side of that here we have the resource centre, built in about 1999. Then if we come on round, we have the four blocks of houses here, two in each. They're up about 25 years. Off to the right we have the new GEA centre. This was the site of Cavaness Farm, where all those buildings are. That's Sullivan's house, the new school, the resource centre and the football pitch. The footballers bought that farm in 1970 off a man called James Conlon, but it's known as Cavaness Farm. James Conlon only resided in it for 3 years, roughly. Well, here beside me I have Patrick Boyle, and Patrick is a member of the Latton O'Rahilly GAA. He will tell you more about the club, when it was founded and all that.
Well, the O'Rahilly Club was founded in 1817 and it's kept the flag flying since. In all that time they won 3 senior championships. The first was in 1930. We played against Inniskeen, where the great Patrick Kavanagh was in goals for Inniskeen on that day. They won no more senior championships until 2005 and again in 2008. A number of senior leagues and quite successful at underage football over the years, and the club is very vibrant and one of the top clubs in the county.
And how many teams will they have? Will they have a series of under 13s, 14s, under 18s? How many teams do they have in the club?
Well, underage and senior level, there's about 8 teams.
8 teams. And have any of the players gone on to play for the county?
Quite a number over the years have played for the county. At present, 2 members of the panel would be Owen Lennon and Hugh McElroy.
Mm. And going forward, how is the club going to develop? Have they any plans to develop anything in the club or get bigger? Or?
Well, they have recently extended to the centre, which is a fine centre, and many functions are held there now, and they have a lot of effort being put into underage football at the time, and we're hopeful for the future.
And did you play for the team yourself?
I played a little bit, but I wasn't about all the time to play. I played a little bit.
Cork took over?
Yeah.
Well, my name is Patrick Lennon here, and we're looking over here the hills of Ballynimma. It's supposed to be one of the highest points in County Monaghan, and just to the left of the mountain are these windmills, which are the new technology, which we're hoping will give us much cheaper electricity. We also, if we move on more to the left here, we'll see 2 new buildings here being built on our left-hand side, showing that this is a developing community. It's great to see new families moving into it. And just keep going on round to the left, there are another couple of houses there, older residents. Just more on to the left, we can view 2 chimney tops, which is another new development in the community. And just immediately there in front of us there, a little bungalow, which was built in the very recent times.
Patrick, can you tell me, is the town of Latton and the townland of Latton, is it still developing? Are there families moving in here?
Yeah. Right, the village of Latton is still developing, and over the last number of years, various people have moved into the area, built new houses, and as you will see later on down, our resource centre down here is a very important part of the community, and it's been a great asset to the community. And while the country at large doesn't seem to be going well, the village of Latton is developing all the time, and it's a very, very good community.
Are there families moving in here? Are there new families?
New families moving in, various new families, more new families moving up into the Bourne area than there is in this area, but a lot of the young people in this area are sort of inclined to build here in the community and remain in the community, which is great for the community.
Okay, the fact that people are moving in and new families are moving in and new houses, does the village still retain its country charm?
It does. This is still a country area, and this is a community, and this is a place where we all combine to help each other, and it's still a country place. You know, we didn't get away into the city life at all, so it remains a country community.
So is the key word there, it's a community?
It's a community.
And it's a community that's growing?
It's a community that's growing and has developed over the last number of years, and will continue to develop. And we hope that immigration doesn't hinder it in any way.
Very good. And with the technology growing there, you're certainly, as they'd say, growing at a pace with technology and the land.
With technology and the land, maybe these windmills are not a very pretty sight, but we're going to have to put up with that. And if it does make life better for the people and a cheaper electricity, then we'll put up with that too. We're a community that we welcome everything. We're not a community that's object to anything. If it's for the good of the community, we'll have it, and we're willing to try anything out.
Forward thinking.
Yes.
My name is Michael McCabe, and I want to point out about unique to this area is there are at least 10 forts dating back to mythological times, and this one here would be Listrum Clave. There's at least 10 or 12 can be seen from this point, and moving on round here you have Dunmckenna, Clannacullion, Drumlude, Killilis, Lisnalong, Listrum Clave, just mentioning a few of them.
Michael, tell me, what were the forts used for?
Well, legend has it that when Ireland was, it was all planted, and the farming community that brought in their cattle for safekeeping at night, they were cleaning up the whole area, and the cattle and the people lived in the forts for protection. And then in later years, the chieftains used them as lookout points for different tribes that would be trying to steal their cattle and steal their property.
Mm. And would these be the old chieftains of Ireland, the Cuchullins, the kings of Ireland?
Yes. They would. It would originate back. It goes way back to the chieftains of Ireland, the Cuchullins, and it's way back beyond records, really.
And tell me, were they sacred sites, or were they administration sites, or were they sacred sites?
Well, not really. There would be secret sites because, as tradition has it, that nobody interferes with them. Mm-hmm. That's why you have so many of them there as there were, because they were supposed to be very unlucky to interfere with either a fort or a lone bush. Oh. They were supposed to be the little people were supposed to live in them.
Well, the Tuat de Danann and that.
Yes.
Well, the last question there, the forts that we can see around Latton here, are they in a state of preserve?
Oh yes. They're same as they were hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Some of them have grown over and with grouse, but they're there as they were.
Totally untouched.
Totally untouched. Yeah. It's very, very unique in this part of the country.
Right, we're here now in front of St Mary's Chapel. This is the Roman Catholic Church. It was built in 1824, 1825. It has been the parish church since that. So I think we'll go inside now and have a look inside.
Patsy, you remember the galleries here?
Oh, indeed I do, John. In actual fact, the first money ever I earned was at the taking down of the galleries here in 1966.
Yes. We had a gallery each side end of the chapel. I think it came out probably as far as that window over there, or the first window past it a bit. And we had one behind me here. My left-hand side was known as the men's side of the chapel. The men all came in that door, and the boys. And my right-hand side was the women's side. And the school children or school girls, they sat here in the front seats, here in front of the yard.
That's right. And remember on this gallery here, you probably remember it well too, that's where the choir sat up there.
That's correct.
And there was a great purple curtain right round it. And my own aunt,
That's right.
Mrs. O'Daly, she was the organist up there, and that's where they sat up on that gallery up there.
Yeah.
So on the Sundays and during holy hours and that's where they performed from that gallery up there.
Yeah. And we had a pulpit down here at the back. It was central in the chapel. And we used to have a holy hour every first Sunday, roughly 6 o'clock in the evening of that. And that's where the priest gave a sermon from or read the prayers and all that for that hour from that pulpit. It was the same material as the altar rails here and that. And
yeah, lovely carving and everything.
carving, yes,
Yeah.
very nice. And behind me here, we had 3 altars. This is the base of the main altar here, still here. But the top of this small altar on my left, it's part of what was originally the top
That's right.
of the main altar. Yeah. But we had a similar little altar, similar to that one, on the right-hand side.
Yeah,
Well, it's gone.
it's gone.
And the altar rails, of course, were
Different shape.
different shape at that time. Was that done?
That was done in 66 as well, and during that time.
Yeah.
I think it was only McDermott was the man that done the woodwork at that time, who redesigned the altar rails. They used to go straight over and in at 90 degrees and then out at 90 and back in again. But he changed all that and he cut down the altar that time.
Yeah,
That little it's part of the altar that was over there, but it's cut down to,
yeah. The
I
steps,
suppose,
to
yeah.
Patsy. The steps to this one over here, they were at that back corner. They went up so far and then back up the back wall.
That's right.
And there were similar steps on what we called the men's side,
Yeah.
in that corner, to get you up there.
Right on my left here, we have what was known as Listram Clave School. It's now a dwelling. And then further to the left again, we had what was known as the teacher's residence. The teacher that taught in that school there, he lived there. He was a man by the name of Bernard McGee. His son, Francis McGee, later went on to teach in that school as well. Bernard also had another son called Terry McGee, who was involved in the Sinn Féin here. He was the commander-in-chief, I think, of the Sinn Féin in this particular area. And that house down there, the teacher's house, would have been probably the head house of it. In one particular incident, the Tans arrived here in a truck one day, and a young man called Michael McCabe from Drumawadi, he was in here with Terry McGee, and when they heard the truck arriving, he took off on across the way and in under a drain under the road over there, and ran up the laneway on. The Tans fired a shot at him, but they missed him. So he kept on running towards his own place, but they followed on. And right at the back, beside my own place at home, he popped into an old bog hole there and stayed there for 3 or 4 hours till the Tans left. But it was in this time of the year, and when he came out of it, he was very, very cold and he contracted pneumonia. He spent, I think, 6 weeks in bed. But he overcame it, went on to become a draper in Ballybay and reared a fine family, 2 of which were priests and another was a guard.
This building here on my left, which had been renovated at the present time, was the original parochial hall. And underneath it, it was used as stables on a Sunday for people coming to the Mass with horses and traps, and put their horses into the stables. And on the front of it here, on that apex, the year that it was built, which was 1886, and I used to hear my father talking about an old man up the road, Mickey McEnany, who always tried to make himself younger than he was. But an aunt of my father's told him, McEnany, you can't deny your age. The day you were born is on the front of Latin Hall.
Alan, can you tell me a bit about the area here?
Well, this is, up there was the old Mass Rock in Latin and penal times, when Mass was suppressed and they had to do it behind closed doors. That's where the priest would stand up and say Mass, and the people of Latin or the surrounding areas would come to this area here and go to the Mass. But on the high rocks around us there, they would have lads on the lookout in case the boys had come. So they'd be on the lookout to give them the bell if there was enemies coming in penal times.
And tell me, how many people would attend the Mass here, and how regular would the Mass be? Would it be every Sunday, and would only a few people come, or how many?
Well, I suppose it depends on the enemy in the area, of course, but definitely every Sunday there would be a Mass, and God knows how many be coming. There could be a couple of hundred, there could be 10, there could be anybody. Depends on what it was.
And what would happen if they were actually caught saying the Mass? What would happen to the priest if they were caught saying the Mass?
Well, it was against the law, so obviously if they were caught saying the Mass, they'd be upended and that'd be it. Tied up and hung, maybe.
And hung?
Possibly.
And what about the people attending the Mass? Would anything happen to them?
Well, they'd probably run, whatever them could run. And lads that was caught, they could be hung as well.
No, sir, go ahead.
We're standing here in front of the old Latin school. It was built in 1940 and opened in 1941. It remained open until 1977. It was a 2-teacher school. The school I went to, this is it here behind me. In my time we had 2 teachers here, Joe Rorty from Donegal and Katie Duffy from up in Drumhannon. But Master McGee also taught in it in the very beginning, along with Katie Duffy. Then later, after Master Rorty, Seamus O'Daly from Annie came up here and he taught along with Mrs. Duffy. And then Jerry Hughes, he taught then, and it finished off, I think, with Mary McPhillips was the last teacher was here. It just ended up a 1-teacher school. And in 1977, all the schools of the parish amalgamated to the new school up at Latin. We're here in front of the post office at Latin. It's run by the McElroy family. A man called Hughie McElroy came down here from Bawn in about 1850 and bought this place here. I think it was originally belonged to a man called Conlon. They've been here, the McElroy family has been here since that and have run the post office here.
And the shop.
And the shop, yeah. Since that.
And I believe there was a pub here too. I'm not sure how long ago that is, because I heard it said an uncle of my grandfather was involved in a row here, probably drunk, and that a policeman lost an eye and the pub was closed because of that.
Yeah. It's run now by Michael and Anne McElroy. They run it now. I suppose that we're fortunate enough that still have a post office in this area, because most of the rural areas have lost their post office. But thankfully this one here has been retained. There was an attempt back a number of years ago to close it, but the people round about rallied round and petitioned the politicians at the time, and we were successful in keeping it here. And we have all the modern facilities in there, computerised, to deal with all transactions.
John, can you tell me a bit about the new national school here in Lattin?
Well, yeah, it was, we built it, Monaghan Brothers, in 1977. The parish priest of that time was Canon McCormick, who's dead now, and the architect was Jerry McCann from Monaghan. And the price of the school was approximately 120,000 then.
Not an awful lot of money these days. You wouldn't get a garage built today for that.
No.
How many students are in the school now? Do you know?
I'm not too sure now. I wouldn't be too sure.
Okay.
But I think there's at least a half dozen of teachers in it.
Oh. And tell me, what schools did this replace?
It replaced Drumfreehan, Corrahara, Derragoony, Fairmile and Annie. And of course we had a school here at Lattin.
And it replaced the old school we saw since down the road there?
Yes, down the road.
What was that called?
Well, it was called Lattin School.
Oh, that was the old Lattin school?
Yes.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So that was it. We have, as I said, Drumfreehan, Corrahara, Derragoony, Annie, Fairmile and Lattin.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about the centre here? When was it built?
The centre, the first part was built opened in 1999 and was funded under the Peace Programme. The second phase was opened in January 2007 and it was funded under the Department of Justice, Law Reform and Equality. And it's mainly a childcare centre, but it also houses the Rural Transport Scheme and is available at night for many community groups.
So it will be a centre of the community?
It's a focal point of this village here, definitely, and the community. It's open from 7:30 in the morning till a lot of times 11 at night.
And would you have visiting, would you have professionals visiting here?
Yes, indeed. We'd have the chiropodist visits once a month. HSE comes here to do with children. You would have different departments coming to do audits, and there'd be a lot of different professionals that would come through the doors during the month.
And tell me, is the centre well supported? Is there a lot of activity there?
Well, daily we have about 90 children a day, and we have about 41 people working in the centre on a part-time basis, and most of those are in childcare. There's 3 in the Balti bus, that's the Rural Transport Scheme for the County Monaghan, and there's 3 implied in FOSS, so the rest is implied in Fingers and Toes childcare.
And tell me, before the resource centre was built, what was it like in the area here without the resource centre?
Well, without the resource centre we had no childcare, and childcare started down there in the hall behind us there in St Mary's for about 2 years, almost 3 years. But there it wasn't a suitable facilities for children and it didn't meet HSE regulations. And where the site is, where the resource centre is now, was a plain field. So there was no childcare emphasis whatsoever in the community at that stage.
And at night time then, when you have people visiting there might be elder members of the community that want to actually use the centre, maybe for bridge or something. Has that been positive? Is that end of it positive?
Oh, very positive. Like we have the Tourist Club that comes in once a month that deals with elderly, and you could have 4 or 5 bus loads coming there. You'd have people coming to do Irish set dancing and Cayley dancing. You have the community games, the drafts, and various different meetings from time to time.
And finally, how much has it added to the sense of a community here in Lattin Village?
Well, it gives the community a focal point. It's a kind of a place where children are cared for, but it's right from the child right up to the senior citizen. It's here as a focal point, and it's given both economically and so